What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Laughing Man Network's Fantasycast. We're in week 8. Today we're going to talk sits and starts of the weekend. We're going to talk the guys that you can put in your flex. Maybe you have to play in your super flex. You're in a deep league. So let's get into it. Before we get there, guys, I said it on the waiver show. I appreciate everyone out there who's subscribing, who's watching my videos, who's giving me the little bit of support I need this season to get started. I want to thank y'all. It's much appreciated. Anybody else who joins, please hit that like. Please hit that subscribe. I'm doing this for fun. I'm doing this as an outlet for myself to talk fantasy, maybe get a small community going where we can share advice, maybe get some leagues going one day. So please, guys, help me get there. Today, we're going to skip the buy lows and sell highs. I'm going to prepare a show for next week where I'm going to talk more of the guys you need to target before the trade deadline. Guys that may win you a playoff game, 2, maybe even a championship. Definitely tune into that because I'm going to come up with some good names for y'all, some guys that you may even be able to buy on the cheap that may win you the belt. So let's go ahead and get into the sits of the week. These are guys that if you have to play them, I understand things are getting tough, but these are guys I'd rather not play in my flex positions if I have other guys that have some upside. Starting off with quarterback, going with Aaron Rodgers versus Buffalo. This is one of my big sits of the week, the big name ones. Taking a risk on it. I understand in some leagues, especially Superflex, where maybe your other quarterback's on bye, you have to start Aaron Rodgers. But I'm willing to go ahead and start somebody else. Maybe you picked up Geno Smith at some point and you weren't starting him. Now, definitely go ahead and stick Geno Smith in there. I'm willing to play Andy Dalton this week over him. Daniel Jones. I'm willing to move off of Rodgers, even if you have a wide receiver or running back that has some upside this week. My second quarterback that I'm going to sit, and I'm not going to risk him in my super flex, is Justin Fields. He's playing against Dallas. Dallas has a good defense. He's only projected to score 16 points. That may be his ceiling. And when you're playing super flex, you possibly want a bigger ceiling than that. So if you have another guy, maybe you have Pollard on your team, and Pollard's been an off and on flex for you. He's starting this week. So play a guy like Pollard over him if you don't have another quarterback to go over Fields. I just don't trust him against Dallas this week. He's going to be running for his life. Third quarterback, Malik Willis. If Ryan Tannehill doesn't play in this game, do not go out there. Do not get cute. Do not play Malik Willis. He's playing against Houston. Houston has an okay defense, but don't trust him. Don't try to get risky and try to be contrarian. There are better options out there. Get Andy Dalton. Get, Heineke. Don't play Malik Willis this week. We got running backs. This is going to be a trend. I'm probably sitting any Green Bay Packers I can against Buffalo. I just don't trust the offense. So this week I'm sitting A.J. Dillon. He's playing Buffalo, 8.5 points projected. He hasn't been getting it done. He's been scoring under 9, 10 points the past 3-4 weeks. Aaron Jones is still the lead dog over there. I think if they get anything going, it's going to be through Aaron Jones. I'm just not going to trust that offense against Buffalo this week, so go ahead and sit A.J. Dillon. James Robinson, we had the big trade. James Robinson got sent to the New York Jets. He's going to be the starting running back over there. He's going to get more carries. But this week they're playing New England. He's projected to score 6.5 points. This is a situation where they're going to give him a few plays probably. He's going to get eased into this offense. Don't expect him to get a lot of touches. So if you have James Robinson, wait, hold out, and maybe start him next week. Next up, Henderson from the Rams. They're playing against San Francisco. He's projected to score 12.5 points, which is decent, but he's been very underwhelming this season. He's got, this past week, he had 12 for 43 and a touchdown. The touchdown saved his fantasy day. You take out that touchdown, and he had a horrible day. I'm just not trusting that backfield right now. Akers may come back, who knows? But don't play Henderson if you don't have to. I understand bye weeks, injuries, maybe you have to, but try to avoid it. Baltimore, everybody. I know this may be getting out late, so I made this as an extra. If I get this out late and the game's already started, write it down. I was willing to sit any Baltimore running back this week versus Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is big up front. They make plays. They got a lot of good players. Gus Edwards projected to score 8. Kenyon Drake projected to score 7. Justice Hill has a few points on there. I think it's like 3. Don't trust anybody in that backfield against Tampa Bay. So if I get this out early enough and you see it, just don't do it. Moving to wide receivers, we have Michael Gallup versus Chicago. I like Michael Gallup. He's still a buy low for me. He's projected to score 11.5 points, but he hasn't done that yet. His 4 games back, he's got 10, 8, 3, and 0. That's not going to get it done, even in your flex, even in your second flex. He's got the upside, but I want to see it. I want to see Dak come back. I want to see Dak move the ball downfield. So go ahead and hold out on Michael Gallup right now, and don't play him versus Chicago. Chicago's got a decent defense anyway. Brandon Ayuk, they're playing against the Rams. Brandon Ayuk's been having some decent games. He's projected to score 12 points this week. He's got 11 targets 2 weeks in a row. He's an integral part of the offense. However, they brought CMC in. CMC is going to take some targets. He's going to take some work, mainly from Debo, I'd imagine. But in this game, you're going to have Ayuk, who's going to be covered by Jalen Ramsey, who I'm a Jalen Ramsey hater, but he gets the job done. He's still one of the best corners in the league. I don't know if Ayuk's going to be able to find a lot of room. I think it's going to be more of a CMC and Debo game, maybe Kittle. But I'm not going to trust Ayuk this week if I don't have to. All Pittsburgh wide receivers. If you don't have to play Pittsburgh wide receivers this week, don't do it. The quarterback situation there is up in the air. Pickett has a good look. He may have a bright future ahead of him. But so far, they have no offensive line. They can't get anything really going on offense. Deontay Johnson, Claypool, Pickens, I'm willing to sit him. Deontay Johnson's projected 11.5. Claypool's projected 10. Pickens is projected 10. That might be their ceilings in this game. Philadelphia has a really good pass defense. They have Slay. They have Bradbury. They have good linebackers who get around, good athletic linebackers, lots of speed. They get good pass rush. They just went and got Robert Quinn. Just avoid the Pittsburgh wide receivers this week. I think maybe Najee and Freiermuth might be the only ones playable. Darnell Mooney playing against the Cowboys. Again, Cowboys have a good defense. Chicago Bears offense has been struggling. They're not passing the ball a whole lot. Mooney has been ghosted for half the season so far. So go ahead and sit Mooney. I still think he's going to have some decent games. I think they're going to have to work something out where they get Justin Fields passing the ball more. But go ahead and don't play Mooney in your flex. Let him sit at the bottom of your bench still. Rondale Moore might be another guy people have been stashing with Marquise Brown going down. DeAndre Hopkins was coming back. Don't play him against Minnesota. Again, I want to see it. Don't know what they're doing over there. They have Eno Benjamin getting a lot of targets too. So just wait on Rondale Moore. Wait for something to happen there. I'm not going to trust it yet. Even Dortch scored a touchdown last week. Tight ends, my usual. I'm sitting Dawson Knox. He's playing against Green Bay. Green Bay's got a decent defense. They got good linebackers. They got a decent pass defense. I'm not going to play Knox this week. I don't think he has any upside. He's projected to score 9 points. The floor for him is rock bottom, but I think the cap for him is around this 9 points, maybe 10 if he catches a touchdown. He only averages 4 targets on the season. He's just not sexy. I'd rather play Evan Ingram or something. Robert Tonyan, another Green Bay Packer. He's playing against Buffalo. I'm not trusting it. He's got eight points projected, 4 targets in week 7. Plays about 52% of snaps on the season, or at least in the past 5 weeks. I'm just not trusting it. The offense, they need to get something going. They need to build on something, and I don't think it's going to happen against Buffalo. So those are the guys I don't want to play in my flex positions. To put in their place, let's go ahead with the starts. Quarterback, I'm going to go ahead and start Andy Dalton. Dalton had a big game this past week. He was 30 of 47, 361 yards, 4 touchdowns. He threw 3 interceptions. 2 were pick sixes, but 1 was not his fault. Went through Marcus Callaway's hands and tipped up, and ran back for 6. Not much you can do there. But Andy Dalton showed he can still do it. He can still produce QB2 numbers this week, QB1 numbers. They're playing against the Raiders. The Raiders aren't a great defense. They can get the ball moved on him. He's only projected to score 16.5 points after that big week. I don't think Jameis Winston's going to be a threat this game. Taysom Hill may come in and steal some plays, but I think you can go ahead and play Dalton this week over somebody like Aaron Rodgers and have faith that he can at least get you that 16.5, but I think he has the upside to get you into the 20s this week. Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is a guy that was still unowned in a lot of leagues, even in some Superflex leagues, 10s and 12s. But Daniel Jones, he better be owned in anywhere 12 and deeper. Playing against Seattle. He's a QB 10 on the season, projected to score 19 points this week. I think he hits that. He's averaging 17 points a game, but he's also averaging 50 rushing yards a game. That's great. That adds to the floor. I'm fine with playing Daniel Jones in Superflex just about every week because of that rushing floor. So go ahead and get him. Play him over a Jimmy G, something like that. Tannehill plays, play him over Tannehill. But if you haven't been starting him and he's just an extra quarterback, but yeah, play Daniel Jones most of the season unless further notice. For my third quarterback over a guy like Aaron Rodgers, let's say, I'm willing to start Mariota. Mariota's playing Carolina. Carolina didn't have a great defense. Teams have been scoring on them, giving them, some trouble. They do get some pressure, so Mariota may get some rushing yards where he has to roll out. He's 17 points projected. I think he can beat that. I think this is one of those games he can have 50, 60 rushing yards, maybe rushing a touchdown instead of sitting back in the pocket and having the defensive ends like Frankie Louvu bearing down on him. So play Mariota in your flex, super flex. I'm okay with that. Running backs. We had CMC go to San Francisco. Chuba Hubbard got a majority of the carries coming out the gate this past week, but he suffered an injury. It looks like he's going to come back this week, but don't know if maybe they come up off his snap share a little bit, give Foreman some more touches. Foreman had a big game. He scored about 17 fantasy points. He's projected to score 9.5 this week against Atlanta. I think Foreman is startable in one of your flex positions. I think they are going to split carries. I think Chuba still gets his touches, especially in the passing game. But against Atlanta, I think it's going to be a game that's going to be close, and they're going to be able to use Foreman. He may even stumble into the end zone again. So in your flex position, or if you have injuries, bye weeks, I think you feel all right going ahead and playing him in one of your roster spots. We have Pollard versus Chicago. Make sure you're starting Pollard this week. I know some people start him anyway. He's got decent floor. He's got some upside. But Ezekiel Elliott is going to be out this week, so expect Pollard to start. So make sure if you had been flexing him, fringe flex, make sure this week you're starting him in one of your top running back slots. Eno Benjamin, even if Connor plays, I don't know if they go right back to giving Connor full touches right away, especially in the passing game. I'm willing to play Eno Benjamin. He had a big game this past week. He had 12 rushes, 92 yards, and a touchdown. He also had 4 of 5 receptions for 21 yards. That's good production. I don't know how you can just stop using that. So go ahead and play Eno Benjamin against Minnesota. Projected to score 8.8 points. I think he can beat that easily, especially in PPR if he gets 4 or 5 receptions. So go ahead and play Eno Benjamin in your flex or wherever you need. Here's a risky start for you, especially in a deep league, 12-team, 14, 16-team especially. Latavius Murray. They're playing against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Melvin Gordon is the only one who's going to be getting touches. Mike Boone is hurt. He's on the IR. This past week, he had 3 targets. He scored 10 points. He's going to be the one that's going to be more involved in the passing game than Melvin Gordon. So I'm willing to play Latavius Murray. Only projected to score 8, but I think he can get you that 10, 11, 12, and I think it could work out for you. When I'm playing these guys in flexes, I'm wanting either 10 points or them to beat their projected when I call for a start. So whatever's higher. And I think Latavius Murray can get to 10 or more if you need somebody in your flex. Getting to wide receivers. Go ahead and start Jacoby Myers versus the Jets. I don't think they're going to put juice on him. He's 12.5 points projected. He had week 7, 100% of the snaps. That's awesome. He's a key part of that offense, no matter what quarterback's in there. He's one of the quarterback's best friends. He's a target hog. He's always open. I love Jacoby Myers. I think he should be used a lot more, but they need to figure out what's going on with the quarterbacks right now. So I think you can go ahead and start him this week. He got the touchdown out of the way this past week. He didn't have a lot of receptions, but I think this upcoming week he's going to get more involved in the passing game once they've had a week to figure out their quarterback situation. Next up, we have Brandon Cooks. I think this is going to be one of the bounce-back weeks for Brandon Cooks. They're playing against Tennessee. He's had a down season for a guy that we've always said is guaranteed to be a wide receiver 2, but he's not doing that this year. I think he's a back-end wide receiver 3 at the moment. He's projected to score 11.5 points. Nico Collins is hurt. He's going to be out a few weeks. They don't have anybody else to really go to, so expect Brandon Cooks to get a lot of work, a lot of targets, and I think you're going to be looking at top-end wide receiver 2 value this week. Third wide receiver, I'm going to go with the waiver darling, Wan'Dale Robinson. Playing against Seattle, he's still pretty much the healthiest wide receiver over there. They don't have anything going for him. They need to use Wan'Dale. He's starting to get 70% of the snaps. He had 8 targets this past week. He's kind of a Swiss Army knife. He can play all over the field, kind of like Shepard, but way more athletic. Go ahead and play Wan'Dale this week for Seattle. I think this is going to be one of his breakout games. He may even get into the end zone. Fourth wide receiver, I'm going Hunter Renfrow. Playing against the Saints. I know I say this a lot when teams play the Saints. I always go for their number 2 receiver because Marshawn Lattimore is going to be covering the number 1. Devontae Adams isn't going to be completely covered and shut down by Marshawn Lattimore. That's just not going to happen. However, he will give him some trouble. It may come up off the targets a little bit. Derek Carr is not Aaron Rodgers. So expect Renfrow to find some open space, especially if Waller is going to be out there as a decoy or not playing at all. I think Renfrow is going to have his breakout game for the season and expect some good points in your third wide receiver or your flex position. What's up, guys? Coming at you with another quick edit as some news has broke that Jamar Chase is going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks. So if you have Higgins, full go, play Higgins as you always would, but expect more volume out of him. Also, Tyler Boyd is now my flex start of the week. He had 6 for 66 in week 6, and I thought that was a crazy stat, so I said go ahead and play him. Last week, he torched the Saints for 155 yards, and I expect him to have another decent game, especially with Chase out. Expect him to get more targets and get some more red zone production. So go ahead and start Tyler Boyd over all the wide receivers that I named, and look out for Chase to get healed up in a few weeks. Until then, Boyd is full go. Tight end starts. Yeah, he's been a drop for me. He's been a sell. But this week, I'm willing to play Mike Gesicki. He's playing against Detroit. Bad defense. Everybody knows that. He's getting back up to 60% of the snaps. Durham Smythe had been hurt. Shaheen had been hurt for a bit. But Gesicki's getting majority of the snaps again. He's got 7 targets through 2 games, and he had 9 points projected. I think he can beat that 9 points projected, especially if he gets into the end zone. Tua doesn't use the tight end a whole lot, but it only takes 1 or 2 passes, and if he gets into the end zone, which I think is high probability in this offense, I think they like using him in the red zone. I think you can go ahead and play Gesicki this week if you need a tight end in a deeper league. My start that I mention every week, and I think you can go ahead and start him again. He's been on a roll the past 3 weeks. He's been a back-end tight end 1 the past 3 weeks. I'm going to go at Evan Ingram. He's playing against Denver. Denver's got a tough defense, and I think it's going to give their wide receivers a hard time. I think it's going to give ETN a hard time. Lawrence is going to need somebody to get the ball off to, somebody quick, somebody who has a mismatch against a linebacker. I think you can go ahead and play Ingram this week. I think he's going to have lots of PPR value, especially in a tight end premium league. I just traded for him in Dynasty, so to help me get through the season, so I'm good with it. He's projected to score 8.2 points. He's getting over 7.5 targets a game the past 3 games. I think he's just fine. He's 11 points average the past 3 weeks. If he catches a touchdown, even better. So go ahead and play Evan Ingram. I'm willing to play him over some of the tight ends that I said before, over Dawson Knox. I think I'm going to go Ingram for the floor there. And last tight end throw in, another guy I think you can go ahead and start, another waiver wire darling, Dulcich for the Denver Broncos. This past week, he had 9 targets. He's only projected to score 8 points this week. He's taken over the tight end job over there. He's playing 60, 70% of the snaps. He's getting some targets. They're having trouble at quarterback. Wilson may or may not play. I think Dulcich is going to be a great play. It's going to be reliable if they can't get downfield. So go ahead and play Dulcich this week. All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap up Week 8 sits and starts. Tune in next week when we get back into waivers. We'll talk about Week 9, and we'll also talk about guys that you need to target going into the playoffs. So, guys, make sure to tune in again then. If you have any questions for me, hit me up, laughingmanfb@gmail.com. Let me know in the comments if you have any sit-start questions, trade questions. See if I can help you out. Let's get the comments going. Let's see if we can get, everything worked up a little bit. So until next time, guys, good luck.